the next mayor of St. Petersburg, Florida, Mr. Jesse Nevel.
Thank you very much. I'd like to begin by thanking the Reverend and the Travelers Rest Baptist Church for allowing us to use and I want to thank the audience, everyone here for being here tonight, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what all of you have to say. And this is a town hall meeting, so while I have some remarks that I've prepared, the most important part of this meeting tonight is when we open up the floor and we can hear the testimonies and solutions coming from the people. Before I go into my presentation, I'd like to report some news to you. This is from the City of St. Petersburg's website from May 4th, 2017, so that's today. The City of St. Petersburg water resources crews were able to quickly clear a grease clog from the sanitary sewer line in the 3800 block of 34th Street North on Wednesday afternoon. However, an estimated 600 gallons of raw sewage seeped from the manhole at that location just prior to the clearing of the clog. Crews responded to the scene after an alert was received from a nearby resident. That was today. This right here is a gallon. Imagine 600 of these filled with sewage leaking into your neighborhood. That's what happened today, on the day we hold this event. So we see that with all of the orchestrated cover-ups that this city has put together, nothing has changed. There is still sewage in your water, and that's why we have to get this mayor out of office, and we have to fight against the status quo and make some real change happen. So again, that video, by the way, that you saw, that was described in the media as a brief flare-up of tension that took place during that town hall meeting. So I'm very excited that we can now have a 2-hour flare-up of tension. And we can extend that into the streets and onward towards August 29th when this primary election will be held. So first of all, I just want to say that I am not a politician, and as you may have figured out already, I am a person who lives in this city who is very, very disturbed by what I see happening in this city. And I have been since I moved here. I moved here to go to school when I was 18 years old. And since I've been here, I've been very, very disturbed by the conditions that I've seen. Just a couple of years after I moved here, I witnessed with my own eyes under then Mayor Bill Foster, the St. Petersburg Police Department militarily occupy the black community. The Tropicana field that we just heard about was used as a staging ground for a full-fledged police occupation of the black community. They had helicopters, they had armored vehicles. It was like an invasion going on in this city. I was very offended to see that. I was very offended when the sheriff's department just a year ago murdered 3 teenage black girls by pushing their car into a pond where they drowned, and then slandered them in the media. And many of you may have just seen this horrible series that was published in the Tampa Bay Times that slandered these victims and tried to get us in the white community to believe that while the city is poisoning our water, the real enemy is black children. We reject that.
Yes.
Status quo, City Hall, and we're very clear about that. And I am very excited that we have the opportunity now to do something to make some real change happen in this city and to put reparations to the black community on the agenda. Finally. Finally. The other thing I want to say before going into the issue of the sewage specifically is that this mayor that we have right now, he likes to promote himself as being a progressive mayor. And there was actually an article written shortly after we announced our campaign that described the mayor and the city as being generally progressive, and then in parentheses it said, with the exception of economic injustice plagued by the black community on the south side. And finally, through Unity Through Reparations, through this campaign and through the campaign to elect Akile for District 6, we can say progress except for justice for the black community is a contradiction in terms. It makes no sense.
Right.
Reparations and justice to the black community must be the center, must be the cornerstone of a genuinely progressive agenda. That's what so, I'm running for mayor against two Ricks, most likely. Rick Kriseman and most likely Rick Baker. So two Ricks who have already been mayor. And the reality is you could swap them out for any other politician and it would be the same.
Yeah.
Because it's really not about the two Ricks. Our opponent is the status quo.
Yeah.
Our opponent is the system. Our opponent is the media that speaks on our behalf and doesn't have the right to do that any longer. That's who our opponent is. So that's why this campaign represents a movement of the people, and that's why only with the participation of the people can we win, and we will win.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the sewage. So as I mentioned in that video, it's really important to understand this was not just an environmental crisis. This crisis that happened really over and over again for the last several years, but it reached a peak from August of 2015 to September of 2016. This was a crisis that was the logical outcome of a corrupt, rigged social system that's rigged against you and me, and anyone who wants to see a better St. Pete. The St. Pete sewage scandal, what leaked out into the streets last summer, along with millions and millions of gallons of sewage, was the ugly truth about everything that's wrong with the way this city operates. It revealed an extreme failure on the part of the current mayor to take any responsibility to lead out of this situation. It revealed who really pulls the strings in City Hall, who's really behind these decisions that they make, and that's big real estate developers. That's who dictated that the Albert Whitted sewage plant could be shut down. They're the ones who made that happen. They're the ones who put high-rise condos and their profit margins ahead of our public health and safety. And I just want to mention really quick, I think it's almost comical in a grim kind of way that Kriseman claims he never saw that 2014 audit. Everybody else saw it. Even Eckerd College had a copy of it. But the mayor of the city says he didn't see it.
Right.
Now, let's assume that's true. If I was the mayor and for some reason I didn't see this audit saying you shut down the plant, you're not going to have the capacity to deal with the sewage and it's going to be a huge problem for the city. And then that happened, I would come out and say, this was a horrible mistake, and then I would reopen the plant. Like, okay, now you've seen it. Now you have the audit, why don't you reopen the plant? But he didn't do that. Because it's not about the people, it's about money, like Akile said. And what was also revealed with this crisis is that the massive expansion of these downtown condos and high-rises that increases waste towards the sewage plant was probably the key catalyst in the sewage crisis. The other thing that it revealed that I really, really want to talk about tonight is the abuse and mistreatment of workers. The abuse and mistreatment of city workers within the Water Resources Department. And I want to just say, I love the workers of this city. I have the highest respect for the workers create all value in the city of St. Petersburg, and the workers are the ones who make this city function. And the workers knew what to do. The workers knew not to shut down that plant. And when they tried to raise it, they were silenced, they were intimidated, they were threatened. They were told, you better keep your mouth shut or you will be out on the streets. That's what happened to the workers of this city when they tried to prevent this crisis from happening. And the other thing that this sewage crisis revealed was the profound racial injustice in this city. Because before they started leaking sewage into the Tampa Bay, they started in the black community. They used Clam Bayou as the toilet for downtown businesses. That's where it started, 16 million gallons of sewage. And Kriseman never took responsibility for that. He lied, he covered it up, and you saw it in that video. He was there. He was at that sewage symposium and he didn't say a word. He just lurked in the back chewing gum. He had nothing to say for himself. And then he blamed it on climate change. Climate change, he said, has arrived. Climate change didn't shut down the Albert Whitted sewage plant. He created a culture of fear and intimidation in Water Resources at a time when the morale of the workers was most needed. When there's a huge crisis going on, the morale of the workers is most necessary, he started throwing people under his leadership to the wolves. He started putting people on leave, he started firing people, and then he fired the highest ranking black city official in the Water Resources Department, Dwight Wilson. He fired him. He had been there since 2007. He was one of the few people there who was widely respected by his peers, who was seen as wanting to move that department forward. They fired him, but they didn't fire the white supervisor who spray painted KKK on the back of a black city worker's vest. They didn't fire him. So when you talk about a good old boys club, that's just scratching the surface of what's going on in the city and in this Water Resources Department. And Kriseman allowed this culture to flourish under his leadership. So he referred to Hurricane Hermine as the perfect storm, but the perfect storm was the convergence of corruption, racist oppression, a failure to take responsibility, an aging sewer infrastructure, gentrification, the influence of big developers, and the high-rises and the condos in downtown St. Pete. That was the perfect storm that led to sewage in our water. Outcome of the fact that not a single mayor has ever taken responsibility for dealing with this problem since those sewage systems were built in 1972. That's why just this morning 600 gallons of sewage leaked out of a manhole, because these pipes haven't been worked on since 1972. And when I am elected as the mayor of this city, I will take responsibility to deal with this problem, and we, the people, will come together to deal with this problem. We don't need to waste taxpayers' money hiring these consultants. One of the consultants that they hired was a PR firm from Flint, Michigan. That was currently being sued by the Attorney General in Flint, Michigan for its role in the water crisis there. They hired that firm to come try to clean up the image here in St. Pete.
Say that.
So they're wasting your money on that. Then the city has to pay an $800,000 fine. You have to pay that fine. We have to pay that fine. And there's all these lawsuits. Many, many people are suing the city, including people in Gulfport, environmental groups. So they're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not more, paying for their counsel, their defense against these lawsuits. All of that money could have been used to fix the sewage, to fix the sewer system. Our consultants will be the people. Our consultants will be the workers. Workers, the ones who do what is going on to fix the problem. All right, so I want to talk about 6 concrete things that we can really look at making happen when we win this battle. First, we have to reopen the Albert sewage plant. That is very obvious. Very, very obvious. And we need to modernize that plant, create an up-to-date sewage plant that is up to capacity. Right now what's happening, and I've spoken with workers in the Water Resources Department, and I hate to be the one to tell you this, you probably already figured this out. In summer of 2017, there will be another sewage crisis in the city of St. Pete. Absolutely. I can say that without an ounce of hesitation, because from what I've learned talking to city workers, the situation is worse now than it was last time. It's worse. The equipment is in worse shape, and they haven't reopened Albert, so now they're trying to update the plant that is already overwhelmed with sewage, so they have to shut down parts of the plant in order to work on them. So we have less capacity to deal with the problem now than we did before. So it will happen again. And the other thing is, someone said, from the city said, oh, well, within 3 years, we'll be up to capacity. But that's if you take it out of the context of this whole push towards all these high-rises and condos and all these businesses in downtown that are sending more and more sewage towards the southwest plant. So that brings us to the second point. We need an immediate 5-year minimum moratorium on any more high-rises and condos. No more. We have a sewage system to fix. We can't keep letting rich contractors make a buck at the expense of our public health. That will come to an end.
Say that.
So, 5-year moratorium, period, so we can focus on fixing the infrastructure. Number 3, we need to fight for federal funding, federal grants to build the city's infrastructure. The money is there. People are going to ask you when you start to take this out to your community, well, where is that money going to come from? We're going to fight for federal grants, And the other thing is, we're going to change the way this budget in the city operates. This needs to be a people's budget.
Right.
It needs to be a reparations-centered budget. It needs to be a budget that the people decide what the priorities are. Right now, that's not how it works. They go into city council in these little shadowy meetings, somebody shows a PowerPoint, everyone votes on it, and we have nothing to do with it. The people have nothing to do with it. And that's why $1/10 billion goes towards the police. They're putting $14 million towards building kayak launch pads at the pier. They're spending $85 million building a new police station across the street from the current one. So where's the money going to come from to fix the sewage? We'll figure it out. The money's there. The money's there. We can make the budget more efficient. You can see things we can cut right there. Number 4, I want to establish workers' councils. Workers' councils in every city department so that the workers can rule over the functioning of this city.
Yeah.
I firmly believe in workers' power. We talk about $15 an hour. That's just the beginning. The workers deserve power. And this whole city would benefit tremendously from being a city of workers' power. People who know how to run the city should run the city.
Yeah.
Infrastructure tax from all these big developers that come into the city who, yes, they're the ones who are pouring $400,000 into Kriseman's campaign. And when Baker enters, some of them will be funding his campaign. And they're the ones, they want to take over the city, they want to privatize the waterfront, they want to price you out of your neighborhood, and all of this on a foundation of gentrifying the African community out of existence. They are destroying the black community. And they need to pay an infrastructure tax. If they're going to operate in this city, they can't do it at the expense of the people. They can't do it at the expense of the people. And finally, and I mean this, someone needs to go to jail.
That's right.
When I am elected, I will open an investigation into the criminality of the Kriseman administration and those associated. That was some shady stuff. That was some criminal stuff on so many different levels. And none of the lawsuits that are being filed right now, by the way, are in criminal court. So we will change that. And I've heard, that, well, there's certain protections because he's the mayor. Well, he's not going to be the mayor anymore. So that's why finally, I just really want to appreciate and agree with what the future city councilwoman of District 6, Akile, said about housing, and that all of this is connected. And that's the other thing that we need, is a mayor that can understand how all of these issues are connected. The issue of housing, poverty, the environment, gentrification, reparations to the black community, all of these are united. And you can't deal with one at the expense of another. You have to deal with all of it at once in a holistic fashion. And it was mentioned that at the meeting of Faith, Action, and Strength Together Fast, that Kriseman got up before 3,000 people, and the people demanded affordable housing. They were discussing the penny per Pinellas tax. And they were saying, we need more of that funding to go towards affordable housing. And Kriseman said, no, we need to use it to fix the sewage. So suddenly he cares about fixing the sewage problem when he can use it as a reason to oppose affordable housing. But every person in St. Petersburg has the right to affordable housing and a healthy environment. And we need to have a mayor who is unwavering in the So finally, the flyer for this event, it made very clear that the event tonight was to talk about 256 million gallons of sewage leaked into the black community, Clam Bayou, and the Tampa Bay. And there was a comment on some of our online promotions from a white person who lives in this city, who said, I was with you until you said black community. And I have a serious problem with that. And I know a lot of other white people that are here tonight and that are in this city do too. Yes. Because we have to talk about the elephant in the room.
That's right.
The elephant in the room is the oppression of the black community in this city. And in this country. And the roots that it has in this city, in this country, we have to talk about it. We have to deal with it. We're not going to be able to deal with the sewage We're not going to be able to deal with any of this other stuff if we don't deal with this fundamental issue. And this will be a big issue in this election. I will guarantee that it is the major issue in this election. The reporter asked me, as somebody affiliated with the Uhuru movement, how do you expect to win the election in a majority white city? Well, who gave the Tampa Bay Times the right to say what the majority of white people think and feel? I speak on behalf of the majority of white people when I say we are sticking like those unafraid to say what's happening and take action to deal with it. We're not going to be led astray by a cynical, racist city government or a cynical, racist newspaper that would have us believe that our enemy is black children.
Yes.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
They're putting sewage in your water and they want you to think 3 drowned black girls are your enemy. No. That's why I've entered this race for mayor, so we can repair the wrongs that the city and we have committed against the black community, and so that the white people in this city, for the first time, have the opportunity to stand on the right side of this question.
Right on.
This is the first time. If I wasn't running, it would be the 2 Ricks. And it would be the same old thing. Politics as usual, business as usual, the status quo.
Right.
So this is the meaning of unity through reparations. We want to repair the relationship between the white community and the black community that's been a relationship of oppression for so long. We want to repair that. We want to repair the relationship of the city with the people, the government with the people, the environment, the sewer system. We want to repair the horror experienced and waged against the workers, and we want to build a progressive people's movement for social justice, economic development, and a clean and safe city for all who live here. That is the real definition of a progressive. That is the real definition. We're done with the lesser 2 evils. We want to win.
That's right.
We have to win.
Right.
We have to do this. We have to win, and they don't think we can win. They don't take us seriously. They are so arrogant. This newspaper, this corporate media, that they're the mouthpiece of the city and the sheriff's department and the corporations. And they take away from us our right to determine who will represent us.
Right.
They've already called it. It's going to be Baker versus Kriseman. That's good. Let them go on their way. I really don't care if they take us seriously. We just need to beat them.
That's right.
Yes.
Let's fly under their radar and build a people's movement right under their noses. They won't even see us. Billionaires Club, the party is over. The party is over. So we know that we can win. We have to know we can beat them. We have to be confident about that. Don't let anybody tell you that the people can't win. The people can win. We must win. We will win. We are winning.
We are winning.